All right. You got a Samsung TV that won't turn on. This is an incredibly common problem. It's happened with the Samsung TV I had that was 8 or 9 years old. The step that I'm going to give you is exactly what I used to fix it. It works fine now. So the good news is that most of you will be able to resolve this issue with very little effort. But a small percentage of you, this may be a hardware issue. We'll get into diagnosing that. You don't have to be technical to figure out exactly what's causing the issue. If you're the unfortunate few that this is a hardware issue, you're going to want to buy a new TV. The way how inexpensive TVs are today, don't bother trying to fix it yourself in most cases. So let's just jump right in to this. So the first thing I want to talk about is the standby light on your Samsung TV. You'll notice it's usually on the bottom right-hand side. You'll see when the TV is plugged into the wall, but it is turned off, this light should be solid red. So that's the first state that this light can be in. And that's normal. That just means that your TV's off, but it's getting power and it's ready to be turned on. Alternatively, this standby light might be off even though your TV's plugged into the wall and you've turned it on, or if you've attempted to turn it on. If you're not seeing this standby light at all, it means one of two things. One, your TV's on and it's working. You won't see the standby light when your TV's actually on and working. But if you don't see the standby light and you see a black screen, there could be a number of reasons for this that we'll get into. And then the final state is that this standby light is actually blinking red. This is almost always an indication that you're getting insufficient power to the TV. It could be due to a surge protector. There could be just not enough voltage getting from the surge protector. I always recommend you plug your TV directly into the wall. There could be a blown capacitor inside the TV, but we'll get into all of those things. So this standby light basically just gives you some indication as to whether or not your TV is working. But regardless of what this standby light is doing, the first thing you should do, and the step that worked for me, is to power cycle your TV. So power cycling is just a fancy way of saying we're going to turn your TV off and then we're going to turn it back on again. But actually, we're going to take a little bit of a twist on that. First, you're going to unplug your TV from the wall. Then you're going to locate the power button on your Samsung TV itself, not the remote. It's important that you find the power button on the Samsung TV itself. So while the TV is unplugged, locate that power button, and it depends on what model TV you have. It can be a little tricky finding the power button. Some of them, or the majority rather, the power button's right in the middle underneath the TV, and you have to reach back a little bit to find it. And it might take a little bit of a different shape depending on what model TV you have. Alternatively, it might be on the front right-hand side or underneath this bezel here as well. It could be on the very front, which my TV actually was. It was a touch. So instead of reaching underneath, it's actually on the face of the TV bottom right. It's a touch power button. Alternatively, that touch power button could be on the left. And if it's not in either of those places, then it's likely on the back of your TV. And so find that power button. And what you're going to do is you're going to press and hold that power button in for 15 seconds. And don't do 5 seconds, don't do 10 seconds. Do the full 15 seconds. Have some patience. What that does is it drains the TV of excess power that's being stored up in its capacitors, and it allows for a proper reset of your TV. Then you're going to wait after you hold that power button in for 15 seconds so you can let go. Then you're going to wait another 30 seconds or so before plugging your TV back in. And don't plug it into a surge protector. Plug it directly into the wall. Have some patience, and then your TV should turn on. So unplug it, hold the power button for 15 seconds, wait another 30 seconds, then plug it back in. Most of you, this simple step of power cycling your TV, of giving it a proper reset, draining all the excess power out of your TV's capacitors and plugging it back into the wall directly, your TV should turn on. And so that should work for the majority of you. If it hasn't worked for you, then the next thing I want you to do is power cycle your Samsung remote. So in this case, you're going to take the backing off of your remote. You're going to pop out both batteries. And while the batteries are removed, you're going to press and hold the power button on the remote for 30 seconds. So this is similar to what we did above. All electronics, for the most part, have these little capacitors that store excess power. And we want to drain those capacitors down to zero to give a proper reset of the remote. And then once those 30 seconds are up, you can release the power button, put the batteries back in, and then try turning on the TV. If that doesn't work, I would recommend trying a new set of batteries as well, and then try turning on the TV that way. And if it turned on your TV, great. If not, you're going to check the next thing. This sounds almost too obvious, but Samsung TVs are known for these power outlets in the back of your TV. So not where your TV plugs into the wall, but where the power cord connects to the back of your TV. They are loose for whatever reason. They don't fit as snugly as they should. And so if you've moved your TV slightly or bumped it, it's possible that this is either halfway in or not all the way in, and it's disrupting the power flow to your TV. So the quickest thing to do is just unplug it from the back of your TV, leave it disconnected for 30 seconds or so, and then reconnect it and make sure you push in on it firmly and make sure it's snug into the back of your TV. The next possible fix here, try a different outlet. Now, this sounds almost too obvious. This is not the most common issue, but it is an issue that I've seen and I've experienced myself. So make sure the easiest thing to do is just plug your TV into a different outlet and see if your TV turns on. If your TV turns on, you know the problem's not with your Samsung TV and it's actually with your outlet instead. Alternatively, you should go check your breaker panel box. My breaker panel box is downstairs in my basement here. It's in a utility closet. When you open up that box, you're going to see all these different switches, and they should all be in the on position. And if you see any that are in the off position or that have been tripped, if there's an electrical surge or something happens at the outlet and it trips the circuit, then that particular switch will be in between the middle of on and off. And that means that it's off as well. And so you want to reset that breaker. So to reset, it's really simple. If it's in the middle, you have to first switch it off and then switch it back on. And that will give power back to the outlet, go back upstairs or wherever your TV is, plug it back into the outlet that wasn't working and see if it now works again. So again, make sure that the outlet you're using is working. And if it's not, go down to the breaker box and make sure that the outlet is on. All right, next. This happens a lot with my parents and with some my grandparents as well. They think that their TV is off or is not working, but in fact, they're just on the wrong input or source channel. So when you connect things to the back of your TV, there's different HDMI ports back there. And when you click input or source on your remote, that will toggle between the different ports on your TV. So if your cable box, for example, is plugged into the HDMI 2, number 2 port in the back of your TV, but your TV itself is on the HDMI 1 port, you're not going to see the cable coming through. You need to toggle on your remote to the correct HDMI source, in that case, back to HDMI 2 in order to see cable on your TV. So just make sure that if you have something hooked up to your TV, that you're on the right input or source. And if you don't have the remote for whatever reason, typically you can use the buttons on the TV itself to actually toggle the input or source. So at this point, hopefully your Samsung TV is now working again. But if it's not, unfortunately, it's probably a hardware issue. Now, hardware issues come in a variety of different forms. Some of the easier ones to diagnose are as follows. Turn off all the lights in your house or in your room. And then if your Samsung TV has this little vent in the back, look for any signs of light coming through and power your TV on as if you normally would, even though your TV is not technically turning on. When you hit that power button, if you see lights back here, that means that your backlights of your TV are actually working. But if the backlights are working, but you don't have an image on your screen, that almost always means that you have a failed T-Con board or main board or motherboard, as it's called. These are just circuit boards within your TV. Let me just scroll down here and I'll show you. So your TV will have a T-Con board, a main board, and a power supply board. And then sometimes there'll be additional inverters or LED drivers. You don't need to know all that. What you need to know is that if your backlights are on, because you're seeing the light coming through the back vent when you turn the TV on, but you don't see an image on the screen, it's likely your T-Con board or your main board. That said, if you hear sound when you turn on your TV, but you don't have an image, I'd replace the T-Con board first. That's most likely the problem in most cases when you hear sound. Next. If your TV backlights are not, one more note there. If you don't have a vent on the back of your TV, you might have to, your model Samsung TV, you might have to actually remove the backing, take out the screws, take off the back. You don't need to touch anything, but I would do that, turn the lights off, Don't do it on a rug. Do it on a surface that's not, won't be shocking or have any electricity issues. And take a look and power your TV on and see. You should also see lights. And if you don't see lights, then your backlights are broken. Okay, moving on. If your backlights are not working, so you did that test, you're not seeing any lights come on, you want to turn your TV on as you normally would, and then try to bring up the menu, either on your remote or on the TV itself. Bring up that menu, and then grab your phone and turn the flash on, or grab a flashlight and hold it close to the TV, about 6 to 12 inches away. You might have to move it all around. What you're looking for is a very faint image of that menu. You want to see if you can see it with this flashlight. And if you can see an image and your backlights weren't on, they're not working, but you do see the menu eventually with this flashlight, that means that your TCON board and your main board are actually good, but your inverter or your LED driver are bad. Now, those are usually separate components that I don't have detailed here, but in some Samsung TV models, the inverter or the LED driver are actually built into the power supply board. So if that's the case, you'd replace the power supply board. I say all of this because most of you are not going to take your TV apart and actually replace these parts. Yes, these parts exist on places like eBay and other marketplaces. You could send your TV in for repair. It's extremely costly. These days, you're better off, honestly, just buying a new TV. So I hope that was helpful. Again, some of these steps sound too obvious, but I'm telling you, in most people, if they just do this simple power cycle of unplugging their TV, waiting, pressing and holding the power button on the TV, draining that excess power, waiting a little bit longer, then plugging it back in, your Samsung TV is going to work just fine. So hopefully that helped. Let me know in the comments down below. And thanks for listening.